All right, here with week 4 recap. Going to first start with the results. Alex gets a narrow win over me. Frank beats French. Matthew with a big win over Brad. JW with a much needed win over Corey. Casey keeps it going, 4 wins in a row, beats Jeremiah. And Nate bounces back, beats Bo pretty handedly. Haven't really looked at any of these numbers yet. I've processed the numbers, but I haven't really stopped to look or think about them, so you're kind of going to see it in real time with me. Frank and Maffey are now 1-2 in the standings based on what I'm seeing here. Let me check if my thing is right. It is. So Frank and Maffey, the Denton boys, trying to host next year's draft, are really trying hard this year. Casey is right behind them. Nate, myself, and Alex make up the rest of the playoff pool. French, French, Bo, JW, Brad, Jeremiah, and Cody in that order make up 7 through 12. Let's look at some VTL numbers. So Frank now stands alone at the top VTL wise, 60%, not really a strong mark for a number 1 team, but I think that really speaks to that our league is in a really competitive place right now. Nate has dropped down 2 weeks in a row significantly, and with Nate and I both sitting right around the 56% mark, that is also not a very strong number 2. So again, really anybody's game right now is how it feels. Frank has a really good start, 60%, nothing to scoff at. That's very much a legitimate, you are a good playoff team kind of number. Casey right behind Nate and I, 54%, 4 wins in a row now. You could say 54% isn't like a super strong number, but I think we all need to keep in mind the numbers that we sometimes think of, or at least that I think of, because none of y'all think about VTL except for me. We haven't seen any big trades. There are no super teams. Everyone is just very much a regular team. So in that context, 60%, very strong. 56%, 54%, those are very good numbers. You're looking like a playoff team if you're 54%. So I think Casey's got a good shot. Obviously, the season's still very young, but the fact that he's 54% basically on both sides of the ball bodes really well. Maffey has an interesting week because he's bounced back now. I said last week where he had 1 really good one and then 2 really bad ones. I needed to see what he did. Now that he's had 2 really good weeks and 2 really bad weeks, I'm confused, but it feels more legitimate. Alex had a really good week against me. Barely got the win though, so it was a hard-fought battle. But that's back-to-back wins over Nate and Justin for Alex, who started off pretty slow, but already VTL bounced back up over 50%. Not surprised, frankly, about that. And then there's this mess of teams. Corey excluded at the bottom. Brad, Jeremiah, Bo, JW, and French are separated by 0.22 VTL. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. 5 teams separated by less than 0.25 VTL 4 weeks into the season is wild. You can see it's a massive tier break between Alex and Brad as the leading. Brad and Jeremiah are the leading VTL teams of those non-playoff teams. So it does look like we have our 6 tentatively, very early in the season. There's lots and lots of time for that to change. But yeah, we're seeing 6 teams on top, 6 teams on bottom. It's going to take a change of some kind to bridge that gap. Of course, 1 week at this point in the season, you can bridge that gap. Just look at Alex. He was really far down. 2 weeks ago, he might have been last, I think. So in VTL. So yeah, things can still change very quickly. But yeah, those teams down on the bottom half, Brad, Jeremiah, Bo, JW, French, even Corey, you guys are separated by narrowest of margins. Power rankings are sort of tough when you're looking at teams that look identical. So yeah, don't get mad at me about the power rankings. Let's flip over to luck real quick before we go to power rankings. Jeremiah just continues to have horrible luck. 63%. That's just unreal. 58% for JW is also really tough. A lot of that comes from Frank's insane offensive week. Nate, Alex, and myself also have had a little bit unlucky schedules. French, Bo, and Frank continue to be very lucky. that should normalize over the course of a season, I would think. Let's look at some of the individual numbers. I don't even want to really show you the items to the right. Focus mostly on this right here. This is the percentile, not your VTL. It's the percentile of all 1,500 results that we've ever had. This is, I am 66%, so better than average, not exceptionally better than average. So 66%, that's a nice week. Total VTL. My batting was really good, 76th percentile, that's good. 40, bad. The color codes just represent how severe of a result it was. Bo was really bad at batting. French, really bad at pitching. Jeremiah, historically bad at pitching. Frank, historically good at pitching. I do want to say it's quite scary that back-to-back weeks now, Frank has had a light blue marker. 31st best pitching week ever. Last week he had the 11th best hitting week ever, or 10th or something. A team that can reach both of those ceilings, certainly quite scary. I think easily deservedly the #1 team in the power rankings. That shouldn't really be a secret. Shouldn't shock anybody. Some interesting notes here are that French's batting really came to play. JW's batting bounced back. Jeremiah's batting continues to be insane. Truly insane. This disparity is the weirdest thing I've seen in 8 seasons of doing this. Alex had a really strong week, the best week of anybody. Maffey had quite a strong week as well, both of them on the backs of their pitching mostly. Though actually Alex had a really good week just all around. Wow, that's tough. And then yeah, Corey and Bo, pretty bad this week, unfortunately. And part of that, why their standings are going down a little bit. So let's look at the power rankings. This week it's Frank. Oh, you know what? I apologize. I haven't even done the actual tiers. This is just going to be a ranking. I'll do the tiers right now, though. You guys can get a nice peek behind the curtain. I know you've always wondered what goes into my mind when I'm doing power rankings. Just kidding. But yeah, Frank, I think maybe Frank deserves to be by himself. Nate has had a rough go 2 weeks in a row. Maybe it's Nate, Casey, and I kind of in a tier together. VTL-wise, that kind of makes sense. We're pretty close to each other. Casey's on a 4-game win streak. It's kind of hard to deny. So I'm leaving him above me, even though my VTL is a little bit ahead. I have a pretty big flaw on offense. Well, 1 week it was dreadful. 1 week it was pretty bad. 2 weeks it's been good. So I don't know. Fingers are crossed for me that my offense will be okay. But for now, Casey's on a big win streak. I just lost. Nate's lost last week, won this week, but the VTL is kind of on its way down. Doesn't feel right to put them in the same tier, Nate and Frank, not this week. So Frank will be by himself at the top, the favorite. Nate, Casey, and I probably next up. Without thinking too hard about this, probably have to put Alex and Maffey together. Both have had a couple bad weeks and a couple really good weeks. VTL-wise, they are a cut above this next group, but maybe not quite the consistency of myself, Nate, and Casey so far, who've been pretty good pretty much all 4 weeks. Behind that, I mean, how do you cut this up? I would say, for right or wrong, the 2 teams that I think I believe in the most right now are Jeremiah and JW. Both of them are supposed to have elite offenses and bad pitching staffs. Jeremiah's offense has been totally elite, but the pitching has been so bad that I just keep saying week after week it cannot stay this bad. However, this is 4 weeks of VTLs in the bottom percentiles for any team ever. So at some point, I'm going to start believing you just can't do any better than 18% VTL or whatever it is. But that's just historically bad. It feels easy to think that this could go up to 35, 40, and then it's a problem for people. If you just scrape together 2 or 3 categories, that is, on pitching, then the offense should take care of the rest. I think JW will get to be about that same kind of mode. His offense was 70% this week, which is great, fantastic. And the pitching's actually been much better than you would think, 45% for the season. So Jeremiah's maybe the higher ceiling, but far lower floor. And JW is kind of still yet to hit his stride, but this week was a good one. I just feel like both of those guys could certainly still make the playoffs. These 4 teams down here, French, Bo, Brad, and Corey, I'm having a little harder time seeing the path there. Now, French's pitching, I put French at the top of this group because the pitching is talented. It's just so hurt. Maybe once they come back and they're healthy, I could see some VTL numbers that are more favorable, and maybe it would be easier to see a playoff run. With Bo, Brad, and Corey, there really isn't a dreadful team in this league. Um, so it's not like this is a death sentence to be 10, 11, 12. But right now, by the VTLs, by the actual wins and losses, those you three are the hardest for me to see making a case to start pushing for a high-end playoff spot, going on a run in the playoffs. But I think this is probably the most competitive our league has ever been. We're separated by 17% VTL from number 1 to number 12. It's incredible. Um, Very normal for us to see someone in the 35% range or in the 65% range. When there's only been 4 sample sizes, we're really prone to variation. And yeah, this has been fun to watch. Be more fun if I was winning more games, but you know, what are you gonna do when Alex goes off? Anyways, yeah, good week. These are the matchups this week. JW and I, Maiden French, Casey and Matthews. I guess that's probably our prime time matchup of the week, if you will. 2 teams that are in the top half. I mean, if Casey can come through Nate and Maffey and still be on a winning streak, she's gonna have to pop up to the higher tier, I think, because yeah, those are tough opponents. We'll see. Week 5. Yeah, I think that's all I got. I'll write the write up this week. I will put something in there. So keep your eyes out. Thanks.